Welcome. We're living at a time like no other on planet Earth. Spiritual, physical, metaphysical, insights, wisdom, challenges. We're more connected by technology and less connected to each other. We're all seeking answers, and we're often too busy to listen for the truth. Her story and his story and our story.
Welcome. It's August. We just had the Lionsgate portal, big energies. And today I want to chat with you about some things that have been on my mind. I love to explore. I love to share my insights, and I love to explore with other explorers, and especially knowledgeable ones. And today I've got a really great guest. Norma Cowie is joining me today. And she has been a metaphysical teacher for a very long time, a spiritual, wise woman, I will say. She has been involved in the metaphysical world for many, many years. And she's pretty much self-taught, although she took courses and then she taught, and she's a tarot expert. And she also channels and does some really fascinating work with timelines and past lives and future lives and alternate realities. And so I thought that was the perfect person to ask about color. And as many of you know, I really didn't delve into my art journey until just a couple of years ago, and then into my fashion journey. And today I'm wearing one of my designs, which you can look at on Legalities, my storefront. But really, I'm not talking specifically about fashion, although it does relate, because when I look at color, I want to know, like, why color? Why is this planet so filled with color? And are our lives affected by the colors we choose for our backgrounds of our lives, our offices, our homes, our healing centers? There seems to be a lot of different opinions about this and not a lot of research. But, you know, we have color theories, and we have like the color wheel, which tells us, oh, this is a complementary color, the adjacent, you know, there's so many parts to this. And I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by, we have people who are in fashion who talk about the what color are you, like what season, and then the colors that actually suit you according to that. And the other part of it is that when we are looking at decorating our homes or the clothes we choose to wear, how does the color factor into that? What's the energy behind those colors? Our chakras are all color coordinated. Our life choices there seems to be an energy, vibration, and attraction or repulsion about color. And to me, that is one of those things that I just want to understand more, because I know after listening to Norma Cowie do she has her own YouTube channel, which I'll put the link to. She talks about visiting other planets and the colors, and I want to know, what's that all about? Like, why do some planets have more color than others, or do they, you know? Or is this something that happens in the human point of view? Because when you hear about near-death experiences, people talk about color. People, you know, talk about the colors are more vibrant than they are on planet Earth. And I wonder, what's that about? There's so much in this that I really want to delve into with Norma, and she has been so gracious to give us her time to share with us. She totally amazes me with what she knows and where she's willing to explore with me. And if she doesn't know, she'll say so, but she has a unique point of view. She also talks about thought forms. And so I'm going to see if that is related to color, or if there's, you know, because we look at shadow and that seems like that's dark and gray, and how does that all play in? So it's going to be an interesting chat. I haven't had a YouTube chat for a long time, and I want to start getting back into it as I have more and more questions, especially regarding color and energy, the energy of our clothing, the energy of our artwork. And yes, this is one of my latest original acrylics. And I'm so excited about this adventure today to find out more. So welcome to CWC Art and Soul with the wonderful and always wise Norma Cowie. Thank you for joining us today, Norma. I know it's going to be fun.
It is absolutely my pleasure to be able to join you on this day.
We are, Lionsgate was yesterday, and so big energies there. Everyone's talking about that as being this big portal to manifestation and good things. And I don't want to, I'm not going there, but I did think it was kind of interesting because that's kind of makes me feel like we're shifting into this new energy. And I had heard you talk about color previously and in your healing journeys, in your processes, and you've been to other planets where there was color, or there were other places. I don't know if there were planets, but what got me and what does always make me wonder is about color is we have, like, if you look at the planet, it's very colorful. If you can see color, you can see color everywhere in everything. So there has to be some sort of meaning why we have color. But also, I'm looking at, when we look at the chakra system, they're all defined by colors. There's a color that relates to each chakra. And then when people talk about seeing auras, they talk about colors. And when people talk about dying, there are a lot of people who say, the colors are like we've never seen here on planet Earth. They're so vibrant, so amazing, so whatever. And I'm thinking, this is not by accident that if you look at a black and white movie, it has a lot of dimension and but it's black and white, shadows and stuff, but no vibrant colors. So you see what I'm feeling here? It feels like color has more, and also when I pick up, like if somebody gives me a gift and it's a blouse or a sweater or something like that, and it's a color that I look at it and I might love the color. I might even have said I love that color, but I can't wear that color. And I know, there's the seasons, people do the seasons for your colors, what's your color thing. And like, I'm a winter cool or something, but not all the colors in that palette do I resonate with. I love the color yellow. I love the color orange. Absolutely love them. Like the sun, the brilliance of it, but I can't wear that. And I can't, I can wear it. If there was no mirrors and no cameras, I could definitely wear yellow. I would wear yellow. I'm sure I would. But if I can see myself in it, it's disgusting. It's awful. So what am I picking up? What is this stuff?
Well, color is energy, and different colors project a different vibration. I had to smile at yellow. So as a child, yellow was my favorite color, and I don't wear it either. And when you talk about the palette, which was the rage many years ago now, is I was an autumn, but I wore a lot of winter colors. It was kind of crazy. Yeah, they had a hard time putting me into a category, which I think is really funny because nobody puts me into a category. Yeah,
I like that.
I never have fitted a category, but I think what happens with color, we resonate to certain colors because the vibration of the color gives us a lot. Like I wear a lot of basic blacks because when I'm on camera, I can put another color on top. So it makes it easier. Yeah. Like, the good basic black works, but I actually don't wear a lot of black normally in life. Maybe black slacks. Yes. But, it's not, I like color. This one is white you can't see, but it's got a very bright pink on it and a kind of splashes of very nice pinky color on it. I think that we resonate to the vibration that we operate on. you were mentioning earlier in a conversation that you like blue. Blue is serene. So to me, that would say blue gives you peace. You
It
feel
does.
quiet. You feel easier in blue. So for me, I have lived in yellow houses. I have I'm in an apartment now, so I can't go painting walls. Otherwise, they'd all be yellow. I
Wow.
live in yellow. I've lived in yellow.
Yeah.
And I actually had a house painted yellow, and then my husband, talking about patriotic societies, decided we should sell the house, and the real estate agent convinced him we could never sell as a yellow house, so he painted it back as white, and I was very upset because I loved my yellow house.
Yeah, and
And I
that's why.
had a friend of mine who was living in an apartment. There was 4 apartments that were next to us where we lived in the yellow house. And she had a long drive to do. She had 2 little younger kids. They weren't little, they were younger. And she would arrive home very tired and, coming in. And I said to her, what color would have you feel good when you got home? She said, orange. I said, paint the door orange. And she did. And it made a big difference to her. She'd come home bone tired. She'd come up to her orange door, open it up, walk through, different person. So very often I don't think we're listening.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't, and that's where I've struggled, like with fashion, for instance. There would be seasons, they say these are the colors for fall, or these are the colors for summer, or these are whatever, and they're not my colors. They do nothing for me. And there's been years have gone by that I haven't been able to buy anything new, and it's fine. I'm kind of a classic person anyway. I kind of stick to similar things, but I mean, that was part of the reason I started my own fashions from my art. One, I was encouraged to do so, but the other part is there's lots of different colors, but this is one of mine, and this solid on the top that works with, because it's a kind of a mauve, which is sort of a blue, but I can wear a solid near my face, but I can't wear the pattern. So the pattern is down below. And that works because it's flowing and it's still, but I can't wear things that are, so when they say, these are in style, we have to listen to our bodies, because if you wear something just because it's in style, you're not going to feel as confident or as, but what I heard you say there about that you asked the woman what color made her feel good, so she painted the door orange. So when you listen to people talk about color, they say, I looked into this, I was researching it, and there wasn't a lot of research, a lot of studies. There's a lot of different opinions about what seems to, and there are some things that are actually being done, like hospitals, colors, or, they used to be stark white, and they realized that wasn't actually very therapeutic. It might give that sense of sterile, but it didn't help with the healing. Or the calming or the whatever. So they went to others, but that's a generalization. Orange for that woman, if I saw my door was orange, it would not give me the same feeling as it does to her. And that's why I'm thinking, there's something about what you're saying there about my vibration is mine and it's unique. And so the colors that I'm going to resonate with are going to be different. Like I would like a yellow ceiling with blue walls. That I can see, but generally speaking, I'm never going to wear yellow, even though I love it. I love it, but I don't want it as generally, and orange, definitely not. I love orange in a flower bed, and it looks like a happy color, but never in my home.
No, me neither. I'm not a particularly orangey person either. I'm just looking around now, and sometimes I have a shawl that has a little bit of an orange color in it, but it's not the main color. I have a blanket that was given to me once.
But so is it communicating with this? I think that's what I was feeling. Like I was thinking,
it does. I think that what we surround ourselves with. Well, first of all, what do we wear? You know, what are we perceiving? You brought back a lot of thoughts. Like one Christmas, I just moved into a mobile home that my daughter had, and I was taking over, looking after it. And I spent Christmas painting the walls yellow. And then a friend came along and finished it off for me because, you know, and then actually on that same one, I had a consulting room and it was more of a sunny yellow. Because the one in the kitchen was a little bit greener than I anticipated when I was looking at swatches. But that's kind of how yellow is dominated within my life. Right now, I don't have a lot of yellow, which thank you, because perhaps I need to bring that back in. Be going out, I'm going to be buying yellow shawls, putting it on my red Chesterfield and a few other things and kind of get yellow around me, because I feel so much better when I'm got yellow around.
And that's what I'm kind of feeling like is color. Like water quenches our thirst, and the sunshine, you know, we need the vitamin D and all that jazz. But it feels like color is another nourishment for us.
I'm laughing because I'm looking at my desk and I have two orangey things on it. I do have one yellow pen disappearing down here, but I have my God box, which I use for often bring out in mental mind treatments on Monday nights, and it's a gold. That gold is a yellow color.
Yes.
So
yes.
And I like gold.
Yes.
But and my yellow fly swatter.
And as
everything else.
And as Norma mentions that, I just want to tell people who are watching, I'll put the links to Norma's YouTube channel where she does her mental mind treatments. She does Sunday thoughts, and she does Norma talks on Wednesdays, right? Wednesday. Yeah. So, and tons of tarot and metaphysical, but I mean, that's the whole thing. Metaphysical. We're talking about the physical. Beyond the physical is the metaphysical. And I can't see aura like I sense aura, but I don't see it. Like some people see an aura around a person. So now I'm beginning to wonder, is that my body telling you something?
If you can sense it, you can put the sense into a color.
Oh.
I don't see auras like I see my hand. I don't see them that way, but I can sense them, and I can pull a color out. I can pull other things out if I choose to do that. I don't walk around seeing auras.
No.
Some people do. Some people see them naturally. They look at you, they see everything. I don't. But if I want to, I can.
Yes. Okay. But so that's why I'm thinking if there are people who do healing treatments that way, they look at your aura and they can see something is out of balance or something's wrong. So is that my body giving off that color to communicate to? Is it another way for me to, because I mean, we've both seen dead people in our lives, and you know that when there's nobody in the body, there is nothing, you can sense that there isn't anybody in there. There's nobody home.
By the way, I have not ever seen a dead person. I have always been away when people die.
Oh, I've seen too many.
I just have to quit because it's a very interesting thing, is that over the years when I should be there or whatever, circumstances have always had me away.
Interesting.
And I have to tell you this story because I was wondering about this, and I asked the question, how come I'm not around when people die? And I got this vision of me being a male doctor at the time of the plague, and there were all these hundreds of bodies covered in a white shroud sort of thing. It was Middle Eastern for sure, saying, I don't want to ever see another dead body.
Yep. I hear you. I get that.
And then I was a nurse, and I was a nurse in England after the First World War, almost making the same decision. We tend to make the same decisions. Now, I don't make a decision that I knew in this life of not seeing dead people, but I certainly made very strong ones in other lives.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize, that your decisions that you make today are not just based on what's happening here. It's what's in their belief system, what you've created, and other times it could be past, it could be future lives, but you've made them. And that's one of the things I look at for people to help clear them. But I had to clear that for me, but I still haven't seen a dead body. So
yeah, well, it's not like, I mean, I didn't go looking for it, but it just so happens I was with my mom when she died. I saw,
right. Yes.
yeah, I saw
And
my dad when I was,
because the essence, which is what I work a lot with, which is the soul of you, is left to go to another vibration.
Okay, well, I will tell you from my own experience, when you're looking at a dead body, you don't see energy of that body. If they've left, if they're once they're gone, there's no sense of aura. But this brings me to another part of this, is that when we listen to people talk about the chakras, and I know that most people talk about the main seven, but you have done a show on all the many more, but there's colors with them. And the thing that always got me was the heart chakra is green. It's not red, which is, we associate red with love and red with passion and red with anger, and which is kind of funny. And here's a little tidbit for you that kind of cracked me up. I had to look this up because it was bugging me. Why does the bull react to the red flag cape being waved? And it's, and the bull doesn't see color. The bull's pissed off because guy's agitating, and it could be a white flag.
Waving a red one or a green one or a blue one. Yes,
exactly. And that killed me, because we turn it into a metaphor. Oh, that's what you're waving a red flag in front of a bull. Well, no, that's not what it is.
Yeah, one of the things I think I think originally somebody way back in eons of time, when they saw the chakra points, they kind of put this thing together of what they considered of a vibration. And then it was accepted as the norm. So if it's accepted, you tend to look for it. But if you get people to go inside the chakras and then if you ask them what color that was, they could have any kind of color.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Again, is this, once again, humans making God in their image, trying to, and I mean, I say that loosely, but it's like everything that is natural, universal, we're looking for a reference point. So we give it a name for something that we, like associating red with passion, when, you could have black satin sheets and that could be pretty passionate. It doesn't have to be red, like there's that, conditioning, I guess, is and that's where I really feel like if we only understood a little bit more how the universe is communicating with us, and that color is part of it, and that that's because I'm looking at why do we went through these trends in real estate. Everybody's like, their house is neutral. Everyone, it's neutral because of resale value, you got a neutral. So it's all gray or brown or whatever. And I'm thinking back to years ago, even in the 50s, when there were all those pastel colors in houses and kitchens and whatever, or even prior to that, where people painted in lots of different colors, or wallpaper, tons of floral wallpaper. If you watch Murdoch Mysteries, which I do, I really love Murdoch Mysteries, but it's a Canadian show and it's back in the 1800s. But I noticed that, a lot of floral on the walls, but also on their dress. So like there was almost, no difference. You could be wearing curtains as a dress. Maybe that's what happened. But there was a lot of busyness of it. Like, whereas now, in a simpler time, I guess that's what I'm getting at. The world seemed simpler, horse and buggies, automobile just came into play, sort of thing. But their homes had a lot of character and a lot of busyness to it, and their clothing had a lot of busyness. Whereas today, our lives are so busy, and the homes are so boxy. In a lot of places, it's like, we like clean lines, stainless steel, this and that. Very cold to me. To some people, it's like, this is clean, it looks organized, it looks, and I look at it, but it doesn't feel like a home quite to me. So I'm wondering if this is communicating to us, like nature is organized in a disorganized way. It's not like you look at the blue sky and then it sort of gradually goes into the green grass or the yellow wheat fields or the ocean blue or whatever. It's not like all colors all over the place in the sky.
Very organized.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of thinking, is there more to color than, okay, I want to go further. You were talking one time about, I don't know if it was healing or you were doing a journey, you were on your own, or if it was for a person, but you've been to other places.
Yes.
Do they all have color? And when I say places, I mean interdimensional places.
I'm just going to explain something for somebody who's never seen some of the shows I do. There is a reading that I do for people where I follow their souls back to when they're first released as a soul and the journey that they travel to come to Earth, because Earth is not usually the first one you end up on.
You did that for me.
What the journey is. And I'm trying to think of it in relation to color. Now, I know that you mentioned that there was this one that was a space. Sometimes they have a healing space. There's a fairy space. Fairy spaces are beautiful. There's lots of color there. Very, very like fairy thing. There's other ones, but there was one that I went to that was like the soul was painting in the sky with her hand, large, broad moments of color, all colors. And then when she was making pictures, but it was like in the sky. It wasn't like on a sketch pad or whatever.
Whoa.
It was the sky. And it was incredibly beautiful. It had a whole different flavor to it because of the space of it. It was so huge. It was so beautiful. And I can't remember now but that really left an impression on me because I've seen quite a number of different places. Like most of us have lives in space at some point. I have to tell you this. One of the people I was doing this for, when we got to her space time, I went, "Oh, but you never went into space." She said, "Nope, and I never want to go to space." And she didn't. She had a ground job. It was like, no way. Most of them I have been to the edge. There was a new one of the Star Trek where Picard was in. They went right to the very edge and they looked out into the black. I've been there on a little exploring spaceship of 3 people. And we went to this edge and all in front of it was black. And it was like we were the end of the universe, so to speak. Now, I don't know what's on that black or what's maybe on the other side of it. I don't know. But it reminded me of that episode of the New Generation, when, Star Trek New Generation. And it was like, whoa. And so I've been in big ships, exploring ships. I've been also on spaceships where people were brought to Earth, all sorts of things. So I know quite a bit about space trips, the space lives. But the painting lives, that was really the only one that really came. I've had people been on horrible planets with big predators. Yeah.
But have you ever been to a planet that you noticed had no, like it was black and white?
No.
So
now I have to be careful what I say that, but I'm trying to think. I've done some past life regressions where there was one. This is many, many years ago. The lady wanted to find out about her intellect. The whole design was to find out about where her intellect came from. She was very bright, was a doctor. And and she ended up being like a crocodile in some water, and it was kind of not very colorful. And she was so disappointed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at this. She was so disappointed, but but the intelligence was there, but she was a crocodile.
Yeah, that would be disappointing.
Huge and big. But this is like in a past life regression. So it really wasn't following a soul. I didn't do those readings then. Those have been probably in the last 15 years, maybe even longer than that. I started doing those. And so, yeah, she was so disappointed. She came out. I was thrilled because
yeah, it's exciting.
It was a water planet. It was a planet full of water. And there were little bit of things. They had these sea creatures, like this one was like, to me, in my mind, a type of crocodile. Who knows? But it was intelligent. It knew what it had to do. It was very bright. And she got, but unfortunately, in past life regressions, when you ask for a specific thing, it doesn't always show you what you want to hear. Or see. Yeah. I should say you'll see.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering about, like with vibration and color, and like you said about the heart, like somebody had actually just decided that's what it was, the heart being associated with green, and then we have, you know, other colors we collectively sort of like agreed to. It's collectively, somebody said,
yes,
you know, so those colors are not, because you could look at somebody's aura and see, you know, like, I don't know. Sometimes we look at the shadow. The shadow is dark, or it's kind of a gray color.
It's a gray. Actually, it's one of the things that I actually had a student of mine say something about the shadow and added it to something. I was quite upset about it because the shadow self is so misrepresented as far as I am concerned. And it's yes, but it's where its job is actually to support us and be there as a loving base. But what we do as humans, anything we don't want to deal with, we throw back to the shadow to carry. And that's why it looks dark. That's why it looks fed up. All our guilt, all our regrets, all of those things. So it's very hard for it to give love to you and support to you, because it's carrying, excuse my expression, your shit that you haven't dealt with, that you haven't worked with. And the thought form out there, when can I tell you a story how I found this? I had already found my high self and my earth self. I you know, through work, a lot of work, and then I found my earth self. And that's a story that's interesting. And so anyway, then I started hearing things about the shadow self. Now, this is many years ago. So what I did was I called a meeting with my high self and my earth self and said, hey, what's this thing about the shadow self? Well, they got excited. They say, this is your best connection to universal love source. And as you know by now, that's what drives me, is the connection to the love source. And I went, what? So like we called him up and brought him into the fold. And I work consistently with my shadow self when we're working. And I know that energy has my back, even when I don't want to, when I'm stubborn, or I unfortunately have a stubborn streak, but I don't listen. And I really work at and how do I want to say this? I really work to accept my guilt, forgive myself for that, my regrets, and forgive myself for that, so the shadow self doesn't have that burden. So and make it darker.
So making friends with the shadow, like not trying to vilify it. It's only doing its job. It's like we do the same with ego. Like, and ego hasn't done anything wrong. He's trying to keep us safe. It's part of us. It's.
Well, I have a big story on that one too.
Well,
I don't know sometimes why I was placed on this earth to have different viewpoints, mainly because I didn't follow everybody else's viewpoints.
Yeah, because this is the time of change, and we need different viewpoints. You know, we do not need AI and robots.
Well, it's like it, and it's what I found was I began to hear this word ego, and went ego. Okay, And I began to look at people who we would consider had a bigger ego, you know, those ones that come out and you go, oh, he's egotistical or she's egotistical or whatever. And then what I began to realize, it was their defense mechanism of being wrong. They didn't want to be wrong. So what they created was what we call in our culture an ego, is our defense mechanism.
Yeah. It's fearful.
Instead of coming from our heart and admitting our mistakes, and also being able to see, I found forgiveness was really big. But
I mean,
you need to forgive yourself for what you've done or not done. We're not perfect. That's the one thing. We're not perfect. But forgiveness helps. And then we can have these parts of us that contribute to us to work for us. So there's no really need to have an ego. It's only there to protect you from your own fears. So when you let all that go, you're complete. You come together in wholeness.
But the thing is that, like, when people don't want to be made wrong, and I kind of feel, to me, that instantly is, what would happen? There's an intense fear of being wrong. Why? There's something happened to them in a child, as a child, or a past life or something. There's a wound there. If you cannot be wrong, you cannot be, you know, like there's people who go out and want to make everybody else wrong. There are people that do that. But I'm talking about, you know, you actually did something, or you've got a point of view and you're expressing it, and people are saying, well, that's not exactly right. Like if I say the earth is flat and somebody comes up and says, well, actually, you know, it's not flat. You know, and then I get on my defensive, because instead of wanting to be curious and say, well, really, why did you say, you know? And I mean, you look at Einstein, how the people really wanted him to be wrong. He was, you know, or Tesla, or any of the people coming, anybody who is not going to conform and follow what was told to them by 5 generations before, that this is the truth, even though we've learned so much since, but no, we'll stick with that, you know. But there's something that will make a person have the ego to get so big to protect.
But I'll guarantee that person is not involved in personal development.
Yeah.
That person will be defending their right to believe, to be who they are, no matter what.
Yeah. I had my first actual confrontation in a workshop with somebody who asked me something, and I answered them, and they said, well, if that's what you believe. And I nearly went off the edge. Like, I was like, what the hell? What do you mean if that's what I believe? Well, if that's what you believe. And I get the feeling that they were just starting to get into this understandings, but it was those words set me on a new path, because I was like, because it was what I said was what would be considered fact. You know, it's like, I don't know what it was I said, but because I don't remember what the thing was, but I always remember her saying, if that's what you believe. And I was crushed. I thought, what are you talking about? What I believe is I just believe the facts. And because that's, you know, where I was at, right? Just believe what I've been told for the last, you know, however many years of my life. That's what I believe. And of course, I mostly don't believe any of that anymore. So that's kind of interesting, because that person actually was a catalyst. And I mean, I don't know them. I don't see them anymore. I don't, you know, like it was a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all it takes.
That one thing. Yeah.
Right.
No, it's very easy to judge. And one of the things I say a lot of is that in love, in universal love, there is no judgment. You're forgiven, you're accepted, and then you move on within your world. And in some ways, I was just thinking, it can sound very much like Christian, but it doesn't have rules. There's no rules. It's just pure like acceptance of the love force, the letting go of those things that bother you, and forgive and really recognize what you need to forgive.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to learn a type of prayer many, many years ago that helps. That's why the mental mind treatments on Monday nights. But man, nobody says the Earth experience is easy, because it's an emotional planet and we try to be logical.
Yeah. Okay. So there now I want to take this into a little bit more about this emotional planet thing, because emotions, to me, color actually invites emotion. Color is, I mean, that's with my art. When people look at my art, sometimes they might feel like sad, they might feel happy, they might feel elated, they might feel any number of emotions. And when I'm painting it, I have certain emotions, and mostly I feel really good when I'm painting. I really feel energized. I feel like I'm unwrapping a present. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen yet. And I'm kind of dabbling here and there. I kind of go. So, and color, if I did the same painting in just black and white, it wouldn't have that same energy in it. It wouldn't, I mean, black and white paintings do have, you can create feeling in that too, and bring up emotion, but there's a relationship. There's something about that is communicating somehow through color, our emotions.
You just did one recently with it looked like birds and lots of colors around. It's very recent. You put up, you sent out an, I don't know, email or somewhere I saw it.
I'll look for it and put it on the video.
I don't think it was as birds, but to me it looked like a flock of birds.
Okay.
With all sorts of colors. I really liked that one. It was like a being taking off with all aspects going where it needed to go.
Oh, cool.
I'll look at it from that perspective.
I will. I'll look for that. Well, that's how it is. That's and that I do understand that I show, sometimes I've shown a painting to a friend or someone, and they'll say, and I try not to tell them the name of it first, because that can give away certain things, because I don't want to, when I paint the painting and I offer it for sale or for viewing or whatever, I want you to have your own experience of that, not what I tell you I see, except that I do name them because I'm getting something from it. But I think that's the whole point of art, is to communicate. And I feel like I'm communicating, spirit is communicating through me in my art. I mean, that's how it feels to me. And I can't prove it. I can only tell you that's how I feel. And when people look at it, that's the response I've been getting, is some people feel it's even healing. They feel like, they have them in their house. And it's,
so I think all most of our art, in a way, for different people, because different people respond differently, but it's like, it does have a healing effect, and especially the colors that you use.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
your work is very, very important, because it brings about that whole sense of awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a world without color, it would be really horrible. I really wish I had yellow walls, for instance, for all my art, which is very selected in lots of ways. But but it's not going to be, because of where I live.
Okay, so this is kind of and I want to encourage people. I'm going to put the links to some of these videos, what I'm talking about, on Norma's channel, because this was another one, and it feels like it flows with color and energy and hues and emotion, and that's thought forms. You kind of already mentioned sort of about thought forms, and you talked about it in one of your videos recently, and you have talked about it, I think, on my show before, but also maybe in some of your own other shows. But thought forms and how we can, and why I relate this to color is also about clothing and fashion. Now, this is interesting, but I'm trying to promote my fashion line because I looked hard to find this. made in Canada, washable, wrinkle-free, all that stuff. But it's the labor laws, it's the factory, the setting, the people, the seamstresses, the people who are sewing the garments, the energy that they put into that. And because I don't have, masses of garments laying around my home. Each garment is made individually. When you are looking at a piece of clothing that's come from a sweatshop, cheaply made, cheaply, the conditions for the workers, sometimes it's almost slave labor, maybe it is even. I've heard some terrible things lately about some of what's going on in the fashion industry to provide that quick, fast fashion, they call it. And what made me realize how powerful this is I had a client order one of my fashions. She got it. She opened up the package. She was really happy about it. And she said, "You're not going to believe this. I put it right on." She said, "I didn't have to wash it. I didn't feel like I had to wash it. There was no," and she does Reiki. She's a Reiki master and she does healing. Right. So she was definitely in tune with the energy. She said, there was no negative energy on that. She said, I felt like it was clean. I didn't have to wash off pesticides and all that crap that's happening. And so that's part of to me, that's part of those thought forms that can happen, that attach to, that you were talking about, we walk through or we walk into or we pick up on somebody's, but I'm thinking we could pick up a thought form from clothing, from sometimes you go to wear something, you're going, yeah, that doesn't feel good. Why not? Is it a thought form, energy left over from?
Well, it's leftover energy of how people handle. And again, you're a very emotive person, so you will tend to be more receptive, say, than a person like myself who doesn't, unless I want to feel something, I don't. So a lot of that comes from when you work as a psychic in the environments I worked in for years. You do not, you have your work area and that's where you stay. So a person sits down, you tune in, they leave, they're gone. The next person, kind of thing. And so what happens when I'm going to walk into an area, and to me, it's just like, oh yeah, I like that, or like that, no problem. You're going to walk in there, oh, I don't like that, oh, that nice, like, because you're going to take it in. So it's a lot to do with your energy. And I would say that more than likely, your aura is too big.
Yeah, that's where I want you to go. Oh my God, this is what I didn't understand, because I've always been an empath. I've always been able to pick up other people's energy. And in fact, it played a huge role in me getting sick and because I was taking care of other people's needs, because I didn't know about my aura. I didn't know that. All I knew is somebody was in pain and I could relieve that. And I learned to, like, I know, people would say to me, "Are you reading my mind?" Like, it was like, I knew they were thirsty. I knew they were hungry. I knew they needed a blanket. Knew they needed a painkiller, whatever it was, and so I never stopped to say, "Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Are you," because I was needed, right? And all these, so I wasn't aware of it. Now I am aware of it. Thanks to you. I'm pull in my aura. I try to, so that it can nourish me and make me aware of what is my stuff.
Right. Can I just say an example of how to pull that in is like you be aware, but you see the energy, you don't want it coming in and just filling you up. You need to drive it down through the bottoms of your feet into the earth, because the earth will take it. And so that you're operating, I think 18 inches is big enough, especially when you're out in the public.
Yeah. And so you're grounding yourself.
When I'm lecturing to a large group, that's not a problem. But because I'm in command. But it's like if I go out in the public, I don't want to know what everybody's going through.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't know I was doing that.
About 18 inches.
But I just want, because one of the things is about that walking around with this big old open aura like that and not knowing it, especially, people who hadn't done their work and they haven't worked with you, or they don't know these things. You can walk into a thought form and develop a fear.
Yes.
And you talk, and I'm going to put a link to that video that you talked about that, because it was profound for me, because it made me realize a fear I thought was mine, which was not mine. But what I was also wondering is, can we also pick up thought forms that are not about fears, but I mean, fear's a strong energy, so I can see where that can really get you. But could you walk into, because sometimes you're in an energy that's really happy. Can you walk into that as well? Is that or is it?
Oh yeah, like actually the best. I don't really play too much with thought forms, but I have on many occasions gone into a large department store around their jewelry center in particular, or perfumes, and the thought form is there, and I went, oh, someone's been in here thinking about shoplifting, and I know that other people could walk, and I had this, excuse me, a friend actually phoned me up and said, Norma, like, why would I want to shoplift? And she was having some problems with running into shoplifting and like thought forms.
Feeling
so
that
said,
urge.
Okay, but what I do is break them down mentally. I go in and just bust them out, because you don't want somebody else coming along, acting on that, getting caught, having all the rep when they don't need to. It's not their real thought. Because thought forms around those things, they're very prevalent sometimes.
And I'm also thinking now, when you mention it, that probably is where in bars where people drink a lot and yes. Can be depressed.
Yeah.
And then someone else goes in there, they're happy, they've had a good day, and they're going in to celebrate, and they sit down and they have a beer, and all of a sudden they're like, feel awful. And
yeah, if they're really extended, yes. Often when you've been drinking for a long time, or if you've been having a night of drinking, usually your aura gets pretty wonky anyway, and you wouldn't notice it. But is someone coming in happy and everything, and then everything sort of slides down after a while?
Yeah, because
alcohol is a little bit of a depressant anyway.
Yeah, and I was going to say, wouldn't alcohol reduce your aura? It becomes a little bit more.
Well, it reduces your mental capacity to be in command.
Ah, okay, all right.
Basically.
Well, I mean, I just think that these things are all connected, and I know our universe is constantly changing and expanding and whatever, but I felt like there was a reason, like, especially because I really was not involved in color in my younger days. It wasn't until I finally opened to my art that I started looking at color differently. Like, I always had flower beds, and I was very aware of, the different flowers I wanted in my flower garden and the energy that was coming up. And I didn't want willy-nilly. I had it very kind of organized with I wanted to thank you for being with me today and being with our audience to share these things, to give people something to think about. Like, art is not just art. Art is, and the same with fashion. We call it fashion, but it's not. I mean, we're all wearing clothes. So what are you wearing? Are you wearing things that make you feel good, or are you wearing things that have a depressive energy, or are not, the color doesn't resonate, or the energy? And the same with you. I was thinking about, Norma, you could hang some orange sheets or yellow sheets or whatever your color is, if you wanted to instead of painting. That some people use sheets for decor, to give you that, but I mean, just to be aware of it. Why does a certain place feel better than others? And how can you change that up? And it's not always about, because a fashion designer said this color's in season, or the trends, or whatever. You really have to, like, I didn't understand that for years, that I just didn't feel, I didn't feel great about getting dressed up, because there was nothing out there in the industry that really fit how I felt. And so I ended up hanging on to clothes for a lot longer than maybe most would. And that's okay. Because the colors resonate with me, right? That's that. And then I can feel good. So I just want to thank you for giving us a little metaphysical understanding, so that confirming kind of what I was thinking. Color is energy.
It certainly is. Most definitely is.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Norma.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it, and I look forward to
Catherine. Always a pleasure to talk with you. We always get into likely exciting some talks.
We do. We never know where we're going to go, and that's what I love about it. Thank you so much, and you have a great week.
I will. You too.
Right. Thanks.
Blessings
Take care.
To you. Right.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today to explore with Norma Cowie. This is, for me, this is really fascinating. So I'm going to put links below. Please subscribe, share this with your friends, like the video if you do, comment. I'd love to hear what you think about color and how it influences your life. If you notice any certain feeling you have when you see certain colors. So thank you very much and take care.